Today we explore the fabulous world of fashion, live from the stylish and chic studio of one of my personal faves, Sylvia Nwoko, the founder and the chief executive officer, Thatpurpledot Couture, also known as TPD. Welcome to Fafanua Afrika. This is the show that we focus on the youth and how they can make the most of their lives. We are probably going to be answering some questions that have been burning in the minds of our youth, especially in the fashion industry. So come with me as we have insightful conversations with Sylvia, the fashion maven herself. Get ready to be dazzled but yet inspired by the fashion icon herself. And I'm talking about none other than the founder and the chief executive officer of Thatpurpledot Couture. This lady is intentional because I've been sitting here doing a puzzle of the purple jumpsuits, the purple shoes, and then it has a TPD on the outfit. It has the pendant, and then there's the ring. Please show them the ring. An intentional lady I stand. Please, ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome Sylvia Nwoko.
Hello.
Oh, you're welcoming me actually because we're in a studio. Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
You look dazzling, by the way.
Thank you.
And this is top notch. It's art.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so what exactly inspired the name Thatpurpledot? Because it's actually non-conventional.
I think it started one Sunday afternoon in 2015. I was still in uni, so I am a graduate of linguistics, French to be precise.
Wow.
So we just came back from our language immersion program, and I didn't want to be bored, right? So I thought of starting a fashion blog. So this whole thing started from owning a fashion blog.
Oh.
So I was looking for a name, and my friend was like, okay, you know what, let's put colors and all of that. So in my head, my favorite color is black. So we could just say black dots, and it was like, black dot, nah.
It's bland.
Nah. So we said, okay, what's your other favorite color? Then I said purple. And he goes, okay, that's fine. Purple dots will be good. So when we started searching for names, because of course we knew we wanted to register the name and everything, we had a lot of purple things going on in Lagos already. So we just said, you know what, it's not that hard. Just add that, like that's purple dot. That's how we came up with the name. Wow. So then it used to be that purple dot style. But when it was time to own a clothing brand, there was no point looking for a new name. So we just added couture, which is fashion in French, to the name. So that's Thatpurpledot Couture.
Do you speak French well?
Of course I do.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, ça
That's the
va?
only thing I know. Let me flex. Wow, that's amazing. 2015, that's almost 10 years.
Yeah, next year will be 10 years.
Wow.
Oh, really?
We'll come for the anniversary.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Amazing. I didn't know that.
How has it been? What has the journey been like?
It's been a journey. I can't even lie. So, at first it was very difficult. So one thing I say is, the stress will never end, but it only gets better because you now have experience. And even when you fall, you're not going to be starting from the ground. You'll be starting from some experience. When I first started, it was difficult. You know, when you're like the first of everything, the first generation entrepreneur, you're from a family where everybody likes the 9 to 5, everybody's working, there's the bank job, different things. It was weird. So I didn't quite get the support 100%. But one thing I know for sure is my mother supported me. She literally held my hands and said, is this what you really wanted to do? She asked me that question like 3 times. And I said, yes,
just
I'm
to
sure.
Be sure.
Yes.
Let's be on the same page.
And she held my hands and took me to Balogo Market and said, okay, this is where they sell fabrics. This is this is that. So whatever it is I know concerning fabrics today, I credit it to my mom. Because she taught me. So it was really tough. Some days I would get frustrated. Some other days I would be exhausted. Right. And I just go back to her. I'll cry. And she's like, we don't fail at things. If you started this, go back. There was the day I said, no, this customer is stressing me. I don't want to do it again. She said, eat. She bought amala. She said, eat. Go back to your shop. Because then I had a shop. I had a shop then. But it's been a journey. But when you see the fulfillment on the faces of the women you were clothing and the caliber of people that God has blessed us with, right? There's a reason to keep pushing. Because I feel it's a sentimental business.
Yes.
Women are very sentimental, very emotional. And when they trust you to clothe them, it's a big deal. So when you see that satisfaction, oh no, it makes you say,
It's
nah,
priceless.
it's priceless.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so 2015, yes, like you said, it was like the first generation entrepreneurs. I mean, that time content creation was not a thing, a lot of things were new at the time.
Yes.
But now we're seeing a lot of fashion
That's
designers emerge. It's now looking as though the market is already too saturated.
Of course.
So a lot of younger ones that are coming up and want to go into this fashion industry will be like, I don't know if people would, I mean, everybody already has. It's like everybody in Lagos or even around Nigeria already has that tailor, my tailor,
Of course. It has been like that.
Yeah, and a lot of people are somewhat allergic to change because they just want to stick with one person.
True
so
that.
let me start with you. How have you thrived in a saturated world? Yes, you started, you were part of the first generation entrepreneurs, but at the time where more people started emerging and getting more visibility, how did you manage to stay afloat?
So for me, one thing I always say is we're a lot, but we're not too many. Because I feel like the earth is big enough. You can't serve 8 billion people.
Yeah.
You can't even serve 10,000 people. Right? So I feel what works is carve your niche and serve the people you're called to serve. So over time, or let me say from the beginning, right, I chose African fashion. Because I realized I had the strength with mixing prints. I can mix this and that and it would work.
I can see that.
That's for real. For real. I tried a lot of things. I tried to make corporate wears. I tried to do wedding dresses. But I realized I was struggling. But when it comes to mixing prints, I mix the weirdest of prints. And they work. So I just stayed there. And by the time African fashion became a thing, well, some of us had already been established. So I feel carve your niche. The industry is wide enough. Whatever industry anybody finds themselves, just carve your niche and focus on the people you're called to serve. That's like your target audience. But target audience will not just come from the get-go. It will take a lot of practice. It will take a lot of failure. It will take a lot of experiments. Then when you see the areas of your strength, you'd realize you're better at this thing. Focus on it. So it's more like SWOT analysis. Focus on your strengths and leave your weaknesses. Yeah, so that's how I've managed to stay afloat.
Speaking of weaknesses, what are some of the challenges that you have experienced, over time? Almost 10 years. There must have been something, that got you at the verge of giving up. Just like you said, you would cry to your mom and she would say, eat. I love your mom, by the way. She's a visionary woman. So what are some of those challenges that, you've had to face?
Speaking of challenges, well, I feel for every phase, for every stage, there's a new demontify. In the beginning, I didn't quite understand delegation. So I took on the trouble of doing everything myself. So that I could not maximize the most of my capacity. I'm more of a creative director, right? I like to sketch my designs. That's 100. I even, at some point, I had to put it out there that we don't replicate. Because I feel I cannot replicate what's in someone else's mind. Right. So I'd rather do mine. So one of the major challenges I had then was delegation. At the time I learned to delegate, I didn't know the right qualities to look out for in the staff to employ. So it took me about 5-6 years.
Wow.
Yes, it took me about 5-6 years to learn the very hard way. Then I had to read a lot of books on management. I had to take certain business courses because, like I said, I didn't quite have the business history or background. Right. So I had to take a lot of courses. I had to open up myself to gaining knowledge, honestly speaking. I think there was a time I was even looking at, let's do an MBA. But then I learned that I was already doing a whole lot on the street. So the best bet is, okay, just learn from these things. So I learned how to find the right staff, because the core of this business is having professionals in your production team. We don't care how creative you are. If you don't have people that can translate your vision correctly,
into reality.
And if you're going to grow, you can't do it by yourself. So delegation was my major problem. Then staffing became a very huge challenge for me. But to God be the glory, we've been able to curb that. And they say customer is king, I understand. But your staff, they're the heartbeat of the business.
That's the
Because
new one.
if your staff if they are satisfied,
Yeah.
right, they'll be very productive.
True.
I know human beings can be funny, but with time, you'll find your people.
True.
Yeah.
And within those 5-6 years that you had the challenge of delegation and staffing, how did that affect your business?
A great deal, because in the first 4 years, I didn't really have a social media presence. Right. So the account has always been there. The business page has always been there. But because I was always sitting down, sewing myself, doing a lot of behind the scene work, I couldn't put in the work to be out there.
Yeah.
And if they're not seeing you, they can't buy what you have to offer.
Exactly.
So I had a walk-in store. So I felt I was making money quite all right. But then there are levels to making money.
There are levels.
Of course. So I had people walking in, but then it was limited to my environment. So the time I decided to focus on social media and put my business out there, then I realized I needed to delegate because there's no way I will be producing clothes, right? I wouldn't have the time to think and create. It takes a lot of thinking to be creative. Like when I want to sketch, I shut the door. I literally put a do not disturb sign and I'm like, okay, you know what? It's time to think. So then there was no time to really create. But now that, of course, we have time, we can create as much as possible.
Okay, so we're going to come back to visibility, but I want us to circle back. I don't think we talked about how you started, how you learned. Did you talked about how your mom held your hands and the fact that she knows how to source for fabric.
Yes.
So I think probably she has a little background, but did you learn from her or how did you?
No. My mother didn't, she doesn't sew.
Okay.
So what happened was I left school in 2016 and when I was going to leave uni, I said to myself that I didn't want to get a 9-to-5 because, you know, you need to have mentors, right? Yeah. But the people I saw ahead, I don't think I like them. I've always been this. Yeah, I've always been like that. So I would say this is my call because I heard it clearly, you're going to sell clothes. And that day I felt somebody was talking to me. I have a better relationship with God, so I can understand that it was God talking to me then. Yeah. So he said, you're going to sell clothes. So my mom sells clothes. So in my head, I'm like, oh, am I going to start selling the kind of clothes my mother sells? Yeah. But I started in a very funny way. Let me give you a quick story. So I came back home in December 2016. My father handed me one fabric. My mother gave me another fabric. And they were like, a Christmas gift, go and make clothes. So I took the fabrics and I took pictures of the fabrics and I posted them on Snapchat. And I said available. I didn't even know the price of which they sell materials. Right. I said available. Then I said I would give 10% to our first customers and all of that. Then I had 2 people dragging a particular fabric. So I dropped my account number for both of them. I woke up in the morning, the person that I paid, that's how I started selling fabrics. Wow. So from selling fabrics, I said, you know what? I don't like the way tailors sew clothes. I used to have a problem with tailors as a child. Then if my mother buys fabrics and says we're making clothes, I used to have a problem with our tailor that time because she would never give me what I want. So others will wear the tailor-made clothes. I will go to Balogun market. They'll buy me a pair of suit or something. So it was a problem at that time. So then I had this very good tailor in Benin because I schooled in Uniben. So I took some of my fabrics and I said, you know what, let's make clothes. I want to make this, I want to make that. We made a few pieces. I had my younger sister and her friends then model for me in school, like school hostel area. We did the shoot and I put it out there. So because we were not so many people doing that, I had people take interest. Oh, how much is this? How much is that? I didn't understand pricing. I was just selling anything at any price. I was excited. That's how we came about the business. Then with time, I said, okay, you know what? You can't be doing something you don't understand. So I skipped NYSC, the first batch. I had to go to a fashion school. So while I was learning, I already had a business. Although I was outsourcing to tailors to do for me, but they were not hitting it because I couldn't control them. Right? I couldn't quite control what I wanted. So I learned how to sew in 2017. Then I went for NYC. In camp, I got a store. Then we just started the business like that. That's how it's been all these years.
Wow. Okay, so let's go back to visibility now. What would you say has changed with introducing social media to your business as a tool to sell your brand and when you didn't have a heavy presence on social media?
Social media is a blessing. That's the honest truth. Because if you operate from maybe just a physical store, you're limited to the eyes that can see. But on social media, if you use it correctly, you are open to a whole lot of people. So that alone has given us a thriving edge, right? the moment we came on social media, it wasn't as difficult as it is now. Then it was simple. You could just stand in front of anywhere, just take a fine picture. The algorithm could favor you. People would see your post immediately, you make a post, but now you have to be very strategic, right? And I believe if something is working for you, you have to find ways to make it work, right? So social media has been a huge blessing because it has exposed the brand to a whole lot of people. But it can be confusing, it can be misleading, and it can be very exhausting sometimes. That's when you do not know your target audience. So when you know your target audience, you're marketing to everybody, but you're selling to the people that need the value you have to offer. So for us on social media, yes, we put our stuff out there, everybody sees it, people engage, but we know the people we're selling to. We know the people we're selling to. And they're there, they see it. Even if they're not liking your post, they're not commenting, they are shopping for real. That's it.
Wow. Okay, so talking about entrepreneurship now, and I'm going to base this off some of the tweets that I've seen online where people say things like, oh, entrepreneurship is hard. I would rather have a 9-to-5 that I can trust or something that is steady, because when it rains, it pours. That's for entrepreneurship. But when it's dry, it's dry.
That's true.
You know, so how does that resonate with you? Can you relate to that?
I've never regretted my journey. For 9-to-5, I feel not everybody can run a business. At the same time, some people are too creative to be confined to one space. And I think I'm one of those people that are too creative to be confined to a space. I feel like I will quarrel a lot. I will just be angry because this running my business gives me room to fly. Yes, it is very difficult. I'm not even going to say, oh, come, it's interesting. It's going to be very tough. But like I said, by the time you see your value proposition, you see the people you're serving, first you need to have the love for what you're doing. So if you don't love it, right, you just dabble a little because you feel other people are doing it and they're making money, it's going to be very tough on you. But when you love what you do, right, when it gets really slow, when it gets really dry, you find that time as your time to recoup. Right? You use it to go learn something. You probably have to check yourself and all of that. You do all the self-evaluation. Then when it picks up again, it picks up. So you need to have the passion for what you're doing first. So if you do not have that thing that you feel you can bleed for, there's no point. Just serve with what you know in the 9-to-5 space. And of course, people thrive in 9-to-5 industry. That's the gospel truth. Like I saw one tweet one day that says not everybody's earning 300K, and I'm like, I agree. There are quite a lot of people that are earning good money and probably running businesses on the side. But some people are just too creative to sit to be confined in one space. And some people have the time frame to be patient, and they can build. Like I started very early. I started at 22. Yeah, so I could take all the risk. I could. Not so much was required of me at that time. So I had time to really build. So if you're coming in now, this is me almost 30. If you're coming in now, it's tougher.
It's tougher. It's tougher. Okay, I think that there are also tweets about the pricing of clothing items now as opposed to then. I'll tell you what.
Are we going there?
My mother is a tailor, right? She's sewn literally all her life. In fact, now we had to tell her to dial it down. I make clothes. My sisters make clothes, so cute. We literally just... But the tailoring that I know then and the one that I know now is like two different ends of... So I remember then, my mom would make clothes, Christmas clothes for people, and you'd be hearing 1,000 naira. You'd be hearing... And like the highest you hear is maybe 5,000. That's when they're well-paying. But now we see on social media people saying that I don't charge less than 1 million. I don't charge that. So the question is, what changed?
Time.
So is it that the sewing is not different?
It's different. It's different. It has evolved. That's the honest truth. It has actually evolved. Now, I made the example of my mother's tailor then that used to make my clothes. I remember then anything could fly. Anything goes. But right now, people are more exposed. People are informed. The trend has changed, right? People want more. Before it was just give me Iro and Buba. Now we don't have people wearing Iro and Buba. Everybody wants to wear a corset dress. Everybody wants to wear a bedazzled dress, an embellished dress. And the truth is, these things don't come cheap. When I first started, I think I had pieces for like 3,500. And I think I would even do home delivery for you with that 3.5. If you tell me the zipper was bad, I'll pick it. I'll go back, I'll fix the zipper, I'll bring it back for you again. But now, I'm sorry. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
Times have changed. You know, things are more expensive. Nigeria then and Nigeria now is not the same. At least fabrics before used to be like 5K, 6K. Now we buy like 14, 15. You buy lace now, 500,000, 250. So imagine I buy a lace fabric of 500K. How much do you think I'm going to make the dress for you? Do the math.
I don't want to imagine it.
Exactly. So time has just changed. Things have evolved. Yeah.
Okay. So also, you mentioned that you have had to, when you started, when you realized that you need to learn the business part of it. There's the talent part of it, but there's also the business part of managing your talent. Looking at it now, would you say that you know all there is to the fashion industry, or there's always something to learn? I'm asking because a lot of people feel like it takes hard work to get to the top, but when you get to the top, you relax. They don't know that when you get to the top,
you work harder to maintain
twice.
it.
Exactly. So would you say that for you, there's still more to learn, or you know all there is about the fashion industry?
The day you stop to learn is the day you die.
Bam.
So that means there's still work. So because whatever it is that fed you last year, I don't think is valid enough to feed you this year. Exactly. So you need to keep evolving. If not, you would fizzle out. You become old school. That's the difference between we designers of today and Mama whatever of 1980. She can still sew. Single machine is still single machine. Yes, butterfly is still butterfly. The cutting table remains the cutting table, but the techniques are different. So you have to keep learning.
And the approach to the business.
Because, of course.
Because a lot of people are like, I don't need social media. Meanwhile, some people are not even as good. I was telling one of my fashion designer friends that the reason she's not making enough is because she doesn't have enough visibility.
They don't know her.
Exactly. There are people who are not as good as some people who are, behind, and they're refusing to jump on the social media.
No, you know now we have a lot of fashion entrepreneurs that are not fashion designers. Yeah. Exactly. So they have a place on social media. They know how to do it. Exactly. The best is just hire the skill. Yeah. They hire the tailors and they market the products. Exactly. So you need to be out there to make more. People need to see you. If they don't see you, they don't know what you offer.
So this conversation is just getting started, right? But we're going to go on a short break. I'm going to give you time to stretch your legs, get a cup of coffee, whatever it is. The only reason you should touch that remote control is if you want to turn up the volume, because we are nowhere near done. So we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we continue the conversation with Sylvia Nwoko, the one, the only founder, CEO, TPD. Stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching Fafanua Afrika, basically meaning redefining Africa, especially for the youth. And today we decided to bring it out of the studio to a fashion designer's studio. And we have been learning a lot, right? Our guest is Sylvia Nwoko. She has scaled and really made a name for herself in this industry. She is the founder and CEO, TPD, Thatpurpledot. She has explained. And if you're just joining, I don't know where you have been, but it's okay. We're going to continue. Now, we were having a conversation, off the camera, and I would really love for us to have that conversation because it's very important. It's a conversation around rebranding, right? A lot of people are stuck with a particular kind of brand. It's not a bad idea. Maybe that's the kind of person you are, but they do not understand that for you to have that major breakthrough, for you to scale through and reach the kind of audience that you see other people reaching, it takes a certain level of rebranding. So how did you get to the point where you decided, you know what, I'm going to scale this up. I'm no longer doing the 500, 200. I'm just saying, no dress is 500. Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm no longer doing the petty, little. I'm going bigger. How did you decide to rebrand yourself, and how has that worked out for you?
So it was December 2019. I had to go through my books because I have a bit of accounting background from secondary school and all of that. So I used to do a lot of bookkeeping. So I went through my books and I saw the figures. At that time, it was quite some millions. I was excited. So I called my friend that we coined the name together. And I said, oh, look at how much I made this year, blah, 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 blah. But mind you, that was the book. There was no physical cash anywhere. Not a penny in the account, not a single amount of money in my bag. So my friend said, okay, so how much do you have saved? I said, not really. I don't really have anything saved, but at least we tried now. We did this, we did that. He said, Sylvia, in his words, you are messing with money. I said, what do you mean? I was angry. So I became very emotional, like really sentimental. Then he said, you know what, when you're ready to talk, call me, we'll talk about it. So I think we didn't have that conversation until January 2020. Then he said, you can't be selling to everybody. If you choose to satisfy everybody, you belong to nobody. So you need to pick a niche, right? You need to pick the part of the market you want to satisfy and do everything you can do to satisfy these people. And in my head, how am I going to do this? I know how much I sell my things. I know the workload. Mind you, then I still used to sew. So that was the year. In 2020, we left the shop space. We now moved into where we are now. We're now in an enclosed environment. Nobody could, there were no mannequins outside. Nobody could see us. So we now had to move to social media. Now, moving to social media means you need to do things correctly. So now you have to start adding all the expenses. You're doing shoots, you're going to run ads, you probably need to collaborate with influencers. We didn't have content creators at that time, so it was just upcoming influencers. You need to collaborate with them. You cannot afford to be selling things cheap because all of these services are not cheap. So after I took a course in 2022, I would say that was when I really rebranded. And I'm going to give credit to my coach, Steve Harris. He literally changed my mindset. The first week of the course, he told us to go to a luxury car lot, go and price your dream car. I walked into Coscharis. I went to price a Land Cruiser Prado 2021 model. When they gave me the invoice, I looked at it. I said, Sylvia, when will you make this money? Right? That man showed us that, first of all, you need to have an abundance mindset first before you can afford to do all of this. And so if you don't even look like the blessing you want to attract, how would you attract it? So I had to sit with myself for like 6 weeks, take the course, do everything we were taught, implement. And when we rebranded, it was quite difficult because you're going to shed skin, and that's okay. If you're not willing to say goodbye to certain things, you can't welcome new things. So it was painful to shed skin because you must have grown some emotional connections with certain people. But then we're in business to be profitable. I'm trying to build a legacy, right? I'm trying to build a business that would survive after I'm gone. So I can't just do it anyhow. So I had to shed skin, and with time, the people I literally wanted to serve, I started attracting them. So because money making and running a business is a very spiritual exercise, whether you like it or not. I'm a Christian, and I tell you, if you run business from a carnal standpoint, you'll be basic. You'll be very ordinary. So you need to even go back to God and say, God, this is what I want. Then God needs to form you into somebody that can handle what you want. You need to build capacity. So when you have built capacity, you won't fold the blessings when they come. So when I rebranded, it was painful. I lost some close clients, but I'm sorry, not sorry. It's all love from here, and I'm grateful to the people that started with me, but we need to go higher from here.
I'm really glad that this conversation is going beyond, you know, the regular fashion cliche that they would hear, because the youth these days need to learn about managing business.
Of course.
You need to learn how to detach your emotions
of course.
from the business, right? A lot of people are like, no, my family, there's business. This one is my sister's, brother's, cousin's, friends. I'll just make it for them for free. Some people literally will tell you, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't know how to charge. And then they tell you, just bring anything. Then they go to the market and use their own money, you know, and it's not just fashion. It applies to every sphere of business as well. You need to learn to take a stand, right? I was telling someone who was a new entrepreneur, and I'm like, you can't be a yes man to anybody, not even everybody. You need to be able to take your own stand. You need to be able to say, no, this doesn't work, and stand by it. If you hurt people, sorry, not sorry, like you said, you know, soldier go, soldier come back. It is what it is, right? So I'm glad that we're having this conversation, but also talking about globalizing our own local fashion. We see these days that the Western culture is trying to adopt, you know, you see the Iran Buba, the Ashoke, you know, you see a lot of some white people who literally have no Yoruba background or no Nigerian background using Iran Buba for their weddings and stuff. It's beautiful to see. How did we get there, and how can we become more global? Let's say in 5 years, where do we see the Nigerian fashion?
So I'd say there's a wave now, and I think that wind has blown to Africa. And of course, as Nigerians, we're always quick to jump at things. So that's a win for us. So first of all, we need to be very solid in our management. I would say for me, I have learned to not panic at things anymore. And what do I mean by that? For example, a top client approaches you and you feel, oh my God, this is it. Let's just, no.
Yeah.
You need to have your terms of service, terms of operations. So that way you're solid.
Yeah. It's like a guide.
Yes, there's a guide. So you don't even have to put in your emotions. Because if you're not careful, you lose it all because you're excited for something very little. So Nigerian fashion, or rather African fashion, which of course Nigeria is playing like a major role in the next 5 years is going to be very, very broad. It's going to be very, very rich. So yes, kudos to everybody that has keyed in before now. Kudos to the people that are keying in now. But the sad thing about keying in now is the fact that you can't start small. Nobody's going to buy that mediocre story. Before you could say, oh, pity me, I just started, but the skirt is just 5K, buy. No. Now you need to offer value. So if we understand our value proposition, we know what we'll bring to the table. For example, look at what I'm wearing. This is Adiwe. I didn't have to source this abroad. At some point, I had to localize my business. You know, go to the depths of Abeokuta, get prints done, cook it. The day I posted a video of my fabrics being cooked in a cooking pot, people were like, they cook clothes? And I'm like, yes. You know, because these people see what we do not see. And I'm going to relate it to the story of the Israelites in the Bible. The Egyptians could see that the Israelites were strong, but they couldn't see it. So they see what we do not see. And if we're not careful, they would come, invest, and take everything that we have. But if we know what we're doing, you know what you have, you will guide it with everything that you have.
Sure.
Yes.
Reminds me of a saying. They say people know your value, but they hope you don't.
Oh, they do. They do hope you don't find. You don't see it.
Yeah,
yes.
That's when they think they can.
Because they can use you, easily just trample on you.
True.
Then you will call it life experience.
Yeah. must you experience?
Must you experience
it? Okay. Let's talk about mentorship. That's a very I would say dicey conversation, because this age and time, a lot of people feel so self-sufficient that they feel like they don't need anybody. And it also goes beyond mentorship. You have talked extensively about how you had to take up courses. A lot of people don't believe that, right? If there's one thing, this is me speaking personally now, I believe that there is what we call residual knowledge, residual ability, and there's also progressive, right? So everybody has this innate thing that they're good at. But if you stop developing it, right, it will shock you that a time will come you're not very proficient. Yes. Or even if you feel like you're proficient, you just see people coming from the back and overshadowing you.
True.
So I feel like the youth of this age and time have, would I say, somehow discredited the importance of mentorship, or having people that you look up to, or having people that have gone ahead that can actually hold your hands and tell you. We just talked about it's not a must to go through that life experience,
you don't have
right?
to.
And the only way that you would avoid some of these experiences is by people telling you not to go that path, because they have gone there and they've seen, shiggy. So what would you say about mentorship? Have you had the chance to, have any mentor? You've talked about a coach, and by the way, I respect Steve a lot. I've seen some of his work. I've not been able to, be coached under him, but that's a very fantastic person. So mentorship, coaches, how important is it?
There's a popular saying that says, if you want to go farther, you cannot go alone, just to paraphrase. Now, if you are going to do business, and this is not just about the fashion industry, anywhere, if you're going to grow at anything in life, you need to have humility. So it takes you being humble to be able to succumb to gaining knowledge on someone else. In 2021 March, 1st of March, I posted a picture on Instagram. Everybody was excited. Oh, nice, you look good, this, that. But I was crying here because it felt like my world was tearing apart. I couldn't fathom what was wrong. So that day, out of the pain, I slept off. I went to the gym. I walked out with so much anger. Then I'm grateful for the fact that I can hear God myself. So I just heard, call so person. Because I have people I look up to in the industry. I called first, the other one was a friend. And I said, babes, I need to talk to you. I'm struggling with this. My business is not making so much progress. And she said, Sylvia, no, now. I just saw your post on Instagram. I said, that is Instagram. I am telling you real life. Because it is make-believe, whether you like it or not. Right. Then she gave me advice. Oh, do this advert here, do this, that. Let me shock you. At the time, I went to probably message the people she referred me to. I realized they had sent me messages since 2018.
No.
And I did not see it as important at that time because in my head, what do you want to do? So whatever you do not appreciate, first of all, you cannot attract. Right? So if you do not appreciate what someone that has gone ahead of you has, there's no way you can learn from them. And you can't go far without coaches or mentors, which is why I started something recently for people on my own personal Instagram, because I have a personal brand separate from TPD. There's TPD running its thing. Sylvia is a human being on her own. And because I like to coach, I like to teach, I pick business owners once in a while and pour my own knowledge to share my light with them. Because I know that the sky is big enough for all of us to fly. We can all thrive. If you do not have a mentor, please, I'm going to advise everybody right now, even as an adult, have somebody you listen to. And make sure the people you're listening to are people that have gone ahead of you, right? And I'm sure these people are willing to share knowledge. When I stumbled on Steve's advert then, that was the first time I would pay such an amount of money for a course. So people say, what are they going to teach you that you don't know before? I tell you for free. All what I learned from that class, I didn't know it before. And after that class, I know how my mindset, it's a mindset thing. If you sell at 500 naira, you sell at 1 million, you sell at 50,000, it's a mindset thing. If you don't see yourself there, you can't do it. And a mentor can easily tell you, don't go that way, go this way. There's a strategy I use in my business today. It was a mentor in this same industry that told me, Sylvia, this is what you should do. Try it and give me feedback. I tried it till today. I'm still trying it, and it is still working.
Wow.
So please, get a coach.
Say that again.
Get a coach. Get a mentor.
Yeah, that's very important. So I think very quickly, I mean, it's I feel like I'm in a movie and I just don't want it to end. But I'm just going to ask the final question.
Yes, please.
What would be your advice to people in not just the fashion industry now, young people who are struggling to find themselves? There are people who are lucky as they grew up knowing this is what I want to do, right? But there's some who are, they're studying something because maybe their parents or their peers are studying it, but deep down they know that they need to find something else. How would you advise them to find their passion, find themselves?
The Bible says, man, know thyself. As short as that statement is, it's very profound. You need to have a deep relationship with yourself, right? And the only way you can have that is by having a very deep relationship with your God. Now, when you do know yourself, right, you now realize these are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. You won't get carried away. It's a crazy world out there. Today, you can decide you want to sell this purple outfit. And you see someone selling this black dress. And it looks like, oh my God, this black dress, they said they are sold out. Right? And you're like, see now, sold out. I haven't sold mine. If you understand that you don't know this person's journey because your journey is unique to you, right? You would appreciate your journey. So for young people out there, I know the pressure that is out there on social media. And first advice is, do not compare your journey with someone else's. For example, I'm doing business in Lagos on the mainland. There are a lot of people on the island. But to be very fair, there are times when I've wanted to move and Holy Spirit will say, sit down there. Now I see reasons why He asked me to stay here. It is not affecting my income. It's not affecting my target audience. In fact, they love me more. Do you understand? Because it looks like I'm a light where I am. Now you need to stop comparing your journey with someone else's journey. It happens a lot. I see young people complain about depression, and I'm like, where is it coming from? Frustration, confusion, it's not working for me. I have tried all. You haven't tried all. Honestly speaking, you haven't. So you need to respect your journey. You need to respect your process. You can't skip the class. You can't skip the process. So you need to be patient. Like you just calculated that it's almost 10 years. And in my head, I just started yesterday because I still have things I haven't even attained yet. I still went to see a senior colleague the other day and I'm like, sis, you have done so well for yourself. She said, no, Sylvia, I haven't started. And in my head, I'm like, if you have not started, where am I supposed to be? Do you understand me? So you need to understand that it's a process. It takes time to build. The foundation you use in building a bungalow is different from what you would require for a skyscraper. So when you see someone's completed bungalow and you are building a skyscraper, be happy for them or continue building yours, because it will take time. But at the end of the day, you see the reason why you had to go through your own route. And when you're true to self, there's nothing from the outside world that can literally face you. You won't be bothered. You know you're headed somewhere.
Wow. Words on marble. Honestly, it's been a very insightful conversation, Sylvia. Thank you so much for having us. You have really done amazing. I mean, I see your work. I'm literally seeing some styles that I want to steal. I just didn't come with my big bag, but it's been amazing having that conversation. I have learned a lot, and I'm sure that people watching as well have learned a lot. If there's something that keeps ringing in my head, you know, when you were talking about rebranding, one thing that came to my mind was target your audience. That's why it's called a target audience. You know, focus on what you want and stick to it. And she just said, enjoy the process, build. People's journeys differ. The grass is not always greener on the other side. And even if it is, water your own and make it green. Do not envy another person's process. And at the end of the day, you might shed skin, like she said. You will shed skin, which is important, but enjoy it, because that's where your growth is coming from. Once again, thank you so much, Sylvia,
for having me.
All right, so please don't forget, if you need to listen and watch this over and over again, feel free to do that, because as a youth, it's time for us to break forth and break through and just find ourselves and make the most of our lives. Please share this, like, comment, and from myself and Sylvia, we'll see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.